In today's Leeds news, details on Beck Rumour, million Manhoef linked. Frake details on Raksaki collapse, Rowe out in the cold, and changes expected for the Cup. Morning folks, Jer here, Wednesday morning the 14th of August with your Leeds United news, and there's not a lot to talk about. There really isn't much anywhere. I've had a good look, I've gone digging, and it's pretty quiet in the ground. We've got a couple of details. I'll update you on the Owen Beck from Liverpool rumour. We'll get into the latest situation and the Norwich City's manager's comments on Jonathan Rowe's situation, as well as looking ahead to the game tonight against Middlesbrough in the Carabao Cup. There are 18 days left in the transfer window, and Leeds have yet to make a move since signing Jayden Bogle over 20 days ago. It's getting a bit edgy, but we'll talk about this and some comments that Daniel Farke made yesterday in his press conference that lead me to feel that maybe we think we're going down a road that we're actually not going down, but we'll get to that in a second. But we'll start off with the Owen Beck situation. And yesterday some rumours came out that Leeds may be interested in making a move for Liverpool's left back Owen Beck. According to Dave O.C. Kopp, who is a Liverpool insider, he reckons that Leeds United are one of a couple of clubs that are interested in bringing Owen Beck into the club. The Liverpool insider claims that Leeds, QPR and Celtic all have an interest in the youngster who spent the bulk of last season on loan at Dundee up in Scotland. Beck's valuation is said to be in and around £3 million, and Liverpool are said to be open to both a loan exit or a permanent move for the player. There are some people within Liverpool that say that they hope that Beck would sign a new contract at Liverpool before then heading out on loan to another club, which might suit Leeds United a little bit. This is very, very much in the rumour mill territory, though, and that should be said. It is included in the Yorkshire Evening Post piece today, but it's Kyle Newburn's rumour mill more than anything else. So even the YEP are popping this into the rumour mill just now, it's probably an easy link because Leeds are looking for a young up-and-coming left-back to be secondary to Junior Firpo. But on the last season, while at Dundee, he did play over 20 times for them, scored 2 goals, and was being looked at by Celtic pretty heavily towards the back end of the season. The interesting piece on this will be guaranteed game minutes. If he is going out on loan, Liverpool will want him to play. That's unlikely to play, especially with the comments that Farke made around Raksaki as well, so that's unlikely to materialised for me into anything substantial, but we'll have to wait and see what happens there. A £3 million permanent move could be a smart move. You bring the player in as a left back cover, he gets to develop under him, and then we'll see what happens down the road. But we'll cover that when more information comes up. But it was floating around, people have asked about it, so I said we'd cover it this morning and box off where it's come from. Not a lot of credible sources have gotten involved in this one just yet, so I'd hold my powder on that one a little bit until we get some more detail. Moving on to the Jesper Raksaki information, and it looks all but done and dusted. He was pictured in the crowd at Sheffield United's game, and it looks like Leeds also have admitted defeat in the move for him. Daniel Farke, in a roundabout way, basically said during the press conference that Leeds will not be giving guaranteed minutes to any player, and that any player coming into the Leeds United squad will have to fight for their place. That seems to be the biggest stumbling block with Raksaki, and Farke has pretty much all but said Leeds have lost out to Sheffield United because of that. It's a smart move for me. It makes sense. You don't want to bring players in and guarantee them game time. It sets a bad precedent around the rest of the squad. It also means the players don't have to put everything in. They are guaranteed to play. And there was also rumoured to be a release clause in January for Raksaki, which means he could go back to Crystal Palace should he have a half decent start to the season for Sheffield United. Also on that, there's a 7-figure loan sum, so he could spend £1 million on the player and then lose him after a couple of months and then try and fill that gap in January. So it's a sensible decision probably not to make a move for him, to let that one kind of go by the wayside and then see what else Leeds have on their radar in terms of targets. And that player, we've talked about him for a long time, and that's Jonathan Rowe, but I think there's some changes on this situation. Norwich City manager Johannes Hoff Thorpe was asked about Jonathan Rowe's availability for the game in midweek this week and again then for the weekend. Rowe was withdrawn from the Norwich City squad after conversations with the management team around the interest in him, and it was decided that he wasn't in the right headspace and has been sent to train with the under-21s in the meantime. On the topic of Rowe's inclusion, Thorpe said the following: "He's not under consideration for the game. After what happened last Saturday, it was an easy decision for me to take, and we've had some conversations about it." He also went on to say that it was a tough decision in as far as the player's development, but that it's a learning curve for the player, and he only wants to focus on players that are 100% committed to being at the club this season. Thorpe said that it's also about the culture of the club, and that even the best players made mistakes in their younger days as well. The interesting part about this is, according to most credible sources, Leeds United have yet to make any formal bid for Jonathan Rowe in any capacity. There were talks about Leeds formalising a bid and getting a bid ready, and Leeds might be getting ready to make a move now, and Leeds have yet to put a bid on the table, and that could change. But as of right now, you wonder, well, how long does it take to get a bid ready? What are you waiting for? If the player is there and you want them, and you can have negotiations, put a starting bid in. If it's rejected, you go again. But Daniel Farke made some interesting comments during the press conference yesterday that, for me, tie into this quite well. He basically said that if you spend all your money on panic buys earlier in the window, then you don't have the resources at the end of the window when you want to get your deals done, which would suggest that Leeds' actual targets aren't available right now, and that may come later in the transfer window. The Premier League clubs are very close to deciding their 25-man squads for next season, and there may be a possibility that Leeds are looking at a couple of players there, but that would suggest that they're loan moves that Leeds are looking at. However, if you listen to the comments again by Farke, where he says keeping your funds till the end of the window to make your moves, would suggest that Leeds are looking at permanent signings and not loans in their entirety. There could be maybe one or two, but Leeds are definitely keeping money back for a certain player. So that would suggest to me that either Leeds are waiting to the very end of the window to make a move for Jonathan Rowe, or Jonathan Rowe is not the player Leeds United are looking at moving for at all. That's just me reading into comments from Farke. But if Leeds are saying that they want to keep their funds for the end of the window, and they haven't actually made a formal approach for Jonathan Rowe, it's starting to feel like maybe Rowe isn't the player Leeds are looking at. Now, I could be very wrong on that. He could be very much the player. Daniel Farke could just be trying to temper expectations or cool the interest in the player for right now. But for me, I thought they were interesting comments and something that I would keep an eye on over the next couple of days anyway, and see where this one goes. There's 18 days, as we said, left in the window, and Leeds would want to get a move on if they want to get players in, get them settled for the start of September, and then into the busy period that comes after that as well. So as I said, we'll keep an eye on it. It could change very quickly. It's very quiet at the moment. It seems that when it goes really, really quiet, Leeds do something, but it's been quiet for quite a while now, and it feels like Leeds are very much waiting till very near the end of the window, and you hope they don't leave it too late. But as of right now, there's still a possibility that Leeds will get the targets that they want, and we should judge it at the end of the window. It's not an excuse for performances on the pitch right now. That team that we have right now is more than capable and more than good enough to be getting results in the Championship as of right now. The other story that has floated around late this afternoon, or early this afternoon, is the apparent rumoured interest in Leeds United in a different winger or an alternative to Jonathan Rowe, according to Team Talk. So pinch of salt, all the usuals. Leeds are said to be one of several clubs looking at the possibility of a deal for Stoke City winger Manhoef as another option to Jonathan Rowe. Team Talk claimed that their sources say that Leeds are amongst a number of unnamed Championship clubs that are said to be interested in a deal for Manhoef. The 22-year-old joined Stoke in February this year from Vitesse Arnhem in Holland. Manhoef scored 4 goals and got 1 assist in 14 appearances. 4 of those goals all came in Stoke's last 6 games, which helped Stoke to retain their position as a Championship club. The winger is in the top 10% amongst Championships players for goals per 90 minutes, shots on target, successful take-ons that lead to goals, and carries into the opposition box. Team Talk say that Leeds' priority is still very much Jonathan Rowe. The Leeds have had preliminary talks with Stoke City about a potential move for the winger, who could cost anything between 8 to 10 million pounds, and Stoke would rather he stayed at the club. Prior to joining Stoke City, Manhoef had 77 appearances at Vitesse, where he scored 15 goals during his time there. He's a decent winger. He's a good calibre, good profile of winger. Whether he be that amount of money would be something Leeds would be interested in paying for the player remains to be seen. But an interesting angle and an interesting backup. But it does say that Leeds' interest is very much in Jonathan Rowe still, and that this is as a backup option should they not be able to get Rowe over the line. And then moving on to the final story of today, short one as I said, folks, there's not a lot going around, and that's about tonight's match in the Carabao Cup against Middlesbrough. Daniel Farke gave an insight into likely changes that we can see going into tonight's game against Middlesbrough and the return of Luke Ayling to Elland Road. During the press conference, Farke suggested that he might rotate the squad more than normal and break with the tradition of last season of same team against every opposition. Farke said that Leeds may rotate more than normal due to the fact that there was a short turnaround to the league game on Saturday, and he's got a pretty stacked bench as well. So if you're not going to rotate the squad with that kind of a bench, when are you ever going to rotate the squad? Max Fober and Brendan Aronson are likely to be starting positions for tonight, with the fact that they're a couple of weeks behind the rest of the team in terms of their pre-season, and getting them game time right now outside of a league match would be a smart move for the club to make. Joel Pirro, Sam Byram, Joe Rothwell and Joe Gelhardt could also all come in from the start for tonight's game. And then the question mark around Patrick Bamford's inclusion will pop up as well. For me, I feel he's unlikely to start due to the fact that Farke has said that he missed 11 weeks after his injury at the back end of last season, plus the surgery he then had to correct that, and he's further behind, and he looked a bit stiff to me when he came on at the weekend as well. So he is still a Leeds player, he is very much involved. Farke said he's going nowhere, he's not being sold. So before you go screaming at me in the comment section, please don't, because I have to read those comments, and just give me a break today. It could be great. I appreciate that one very much, but he is going to be thereabouts. I don't think he starts tonight, but he could very well feature off the bench. Other players like Ethan Ampadu and Joe Rodon for me would likely start, as I think that they need the game time after some rusty performances at the back end of pre-season, and then again at the weekend against Portsmouth. And then Jayden Bogle, you would imagine, would start this game because he needs more game time in order to fit into the Leeds setting and put the mistakes from the weekend behind him. He gave an awful lot of positive stuff to Leeds going forward, so make sure that they tidy up the issues at the back as well going into this game. But folks, that will be it for me today. Enjoy the match tonight. We will have some form of a review tomorrow evening, as well as a preview ahead of the game at the weekend as well. Thanks as always for supporting the channel, and I will talk to you soon. See ya.